In this video, I will reconstruct the true history based on hints from Drum+Zou. The second coming of Jesus is said to usher in the kingdom of God. In One Piece, the Messiah is Luffy. Him finding Laughtale will represent the second coming of Joyboy, which will bring the destruction of the world government and the birth of a new order. For Jesus to return from heaven, he first had to be born on earth and die. The Drum arc is connected to Christmas, where we celebrate his birth. The Zou arc is linked to Easter, where his death and resurrection is remembered. Drum is a winter island. It constantly snows. Chopper was even born December 24th. In Zou, Minks were crucified after one of Odin's apostles betrayed them like Judas. Nowadays, Christmas is less about Jesus and more about Santa, who is said to travel in a slough pulled by reindeers, like Kureha, whose slough was pulled by Chopper. The blue-nosed reindeer is inspired by Rudolph the red-nosed reindeer. The Straw Hats took him with them. They left Zou with Carrot, who evokes the Easter Bunny. Kureha was the oldest human the Straw Hats had ever encountered. Zou is on the back of the oldest creature they have ever met, a 1,000-year-old giant elephant. Kureha was the first to mention the will of D. Zunisha confirmed that Luffy is Joyboy. Luffy is not yet aware of his destiny. He will learn it when Robin reads the Rio pornoglyph to the crew on Laughtale. On Zou she read a road pornoglyph. Zou was also known as the Phantom Island because no log post points to it. Laughtale cannot be found via that device either. Wapol attacked the Straw Hats to steal an eternal post to Drum, which the Straw Hats didn't have. Their needle was pointing towards Alabasta. They just stumbled upon Drum. Easier to find than Zunisha or Laughtale. Still, Wapol struggled making it back to his homeland. To reach Zou, a vivre card of an inhabitant is needed. For Laughtale, all 4 road pornoglyphs must be found. Indestructible inscribed stones, on which ancient history is recorded. They are big and heavy, so it is easier to copy the text on paper. Vivre cards are pieces of paper, though nothing is written on them. They are also unusually tough, fire and waterproof. When the crew arrived at Drum, Dalton told them that the country had no name. Laughtale also had none when Roger arrived. He named it. Dalton renamed his country Sakura Kingdom, meaning Cherry Blossom Kingdom, a tribute to Hero Look. When Roger told Whitebeard what he had learned on Laughtale, there were cherry blossoms floating in the background. When Wapol intercepted the Straw Hats, he had Drum's cabinet and soldiers on board. A part of Drum Kingdom, its government and army, was on the ship. It went underwater like a whale. It has long been speculated that Laughtale is inside of a whale, like Laboon. The whole of Zou is part of an animal. It is on the back of a giant elephant. On Zunisha, there is even a whale-shaped tree. Elephants are the biggest animals on land, whales the biggest at sea. At first, the Straw Hats saw only Chess, seemingly standing on water. He stood on the submerged ship, which suddenly came to the surface. When the Straw Hats reached the location of Laughtale, perhaps they will encounter nothing until a giant whale emerges. They went to Drum because Nami was sick. Unfortunately, the island had lost most of its doctors. The people of Drum were ill as well. In Zou, the Minks were dying from gas. There are no people living on Laughtale, neither sick nor healthy, though perhaps the whale that swallowed it is ill, and Chopper has to treat him, just as he had to treat Nami and the Minks. Laboon had to be treated by Crocus constantly. Zou is inhabited by the Mink tribe. Frankie wondered whether they were animals or humans. In Drum, Dalton transformed into an ox. Viewers must have wondered what he was. Zoan fruits had not been explained yet. The Straw Hats were initially attacked in Zou by White Rabbit Mink Carrot. In Drum, they were attacked by Lapins, big white rabbits. Carrot was even armed with a clawed glove that looked like the paw of a Lapin. Lapins have red eyes and white fur. They resemble Minks in Sulong. Minks enter that state when they look at the full moon. There are Japanese folk tales about rabbits on the moon. Dragon Ball, an inspiration for One Piece, features a humanoid rabbit that turns people into carrots. He is called Monster Carrot, like the Mink Duchess. He was banished to the moon. Due to all this, the race that inhabited Laughtale in the past was also tied to the moon. We know of a race, almost extinct, that comes from the moon. The Lunarians. Luna means moon. Plus, they control fire, just as the Minks control electricity. The Lunarians lived on the Red Line once. Queen stated that they could live anywhere. He wanted to highlight their tenacity. Though living on the Red Line is no testament of such, the celestial dragons live there, and most of them are weak and degenerate. Perhaps after the Lunarians got chased off the Red Line, they relocated to somewhere more extreme. They hid in the belly of a giant whale on Laughtale. They were a lot more restricted than Crocus because enemies were looking for them. The whale had to go deep down, forcing them to live as if they were in a submarine. No sunlight, no heat, and limited oxygen. A lot like their barren ancestral homeland, the moon. The citizens of Drum and those of Zou were hostile towards the Straw Hats at first, understandably so. Blackbeard had just sacked the towns of Drum. Jack had just poisoned the Minks. The Lunarians were attacked as well, though not recently, 800 years ago. The poneglyphs will tell their story. Like the Minks, the Lunarians were hiding someone. Their Raizo was Joyboy. They also had their own Kanjuro, a traitor that tipped off Imu, whose forces arrived and demanded Joyboy. The Lunarians, like the Minks, stubbornly refused to comply with the invaders. The people of Zou were almost wiped out for not selling out Raizo. Had Dr. Chopper not come, they would have all succumbed to poison. No one saved the Lunarians. Only King is left, and he wants to find Joyboy. His tribe sacrificed himself for that man after all. In Drum, Lapians held off Wapol to help Luffy. Drum's tyrant defeated them all, but it took a while. Luffy could bring Nami to Koreha in time. The sacrifice of the Lunarians was also not in vain. Joyboy wasn't found, so his remains must still be somewhere on Laughtale, preserved, probably frozen. The extinction of a race and an icy corpse, not funny. Yet Roger laughed. Joyboy failed, so he might have entered his bad timeline. Like Luffy in that situation, he would be obese, have missing teeth, and a balding head. Add to that the characteristic D-grin, and it makes for a grotesquely funny image. The great Joyboy, Roger's hero, looking so pathetic. The ancient kingdom must have had a king, at least one. Drum had two. Wapol ran away, but never abdicated. When he still claimed the throne, Dalton was chosen by the people. Zou had two rulers too, Neko Mamushi and Inu Arashi. I believe the ancient kingdom was ruled by Nerona Imu and Joyboy jointly. If Joyboy had the Nika fruit, you could say by Imu and Nika. Even though Neko sounds like Nika and Inu like Imu, Neko Mamushi is a lot more like Imu. He was the ruler of the night. Imu rules in metaphorical darkness. Inu Arashi took over from Neko Mamushi when the sun came out. Imu's reign will end when Luffy brings the dawn and ends the 800 years long night. Imu destroyed the ancient kingdom. When Neko Mamushi fought Jack, he caused considerable collateral damage to the ancient Mink city. Joyboy and Imu likely both ate Zoan fruits. Joyboy the Nika fruit, Imu a yet unknown yokai fruit. He transformed when Sabo attacked. The two Zou rulers are Minks. When Luffy entered the dukedom, he called it a country full of choppers because they look half human half animal, like Zoan users. Dalton ate the bison fruit. 5 out of 6 of those rulers are part animal. Only Wapol isn't, or his fruit is a secret mythical Zoan like Luffy's. Model Baku instead of Baku Baku no Mi, but this is for another video. Dalton and Wapol, just as Neko Mamushi and Inu Arashi, were once on good terms. Irreconcilable disagreements emerged. Imu and Joyboy perhaps started out friendly too. What drove them apart was an argument over technology. Drum was famous for advanced medical science, the ancient kingdom for advanced science in general. Shaka compared it to Eckhead and speculated that the ancient kingdom was more advanced than the present. Wapol banished most doctors to tighten his control over the citizens. Instead of just medical knowledge, Imu wanted to suppress all technological knowledge. He won and got his wish. The world went backwards. Vegapunk is said to be 500 years ahead of the present, yet still can't replicate certain things from the ancient kingdom. Drum Kingdom didn't allow doctors to practice outside of Wapol's control. Great scientists like Vegapunk are not allowed to do research outside of Imu's control. Doctors are not all medical doctors. Dr. Vegapunk is no physician. Perhaps Imu hunted down scientists like Wapol hunted down Kureha and Hiroluk. Imu has to be a lot more sophisticated than Wapol. He won't have decided against technological progress on a whim. Even in our world, where the possibilities are so much smaller, many debate the dangers of artificial intelligence or automation with great passion. The 5 elders are named after planets that in our world revolve around the sun. Nonetheless, they follow Imu and not sun god Nika. Many in the past believed that the planets revolve around Earth, so Imu stands for Earth and Luffy for the sun. Imu was down to earth, not wanting to fly too close to the sun. He focused on the dangers of technology. Joyboy, careless like Luffy, ignored the risks and saw only the benefits. Perhaps there was even a prophecy by someone with abilities similar to Madame Shirley that certain inventions would doom humanity. Joyboy believed that he could defy fate. The world government still to this day argues that research into the Void Century would cause havoc because it would set free the ancient weapons. Maybe they really mean that. Imu and Joyboy couldn't work out their differences. Imu left with his most loyal underlings, just as Wapol left Drum with Chess and Kuromarimo. After he had made allies, he came back to his kingdom, just as Wapol did. Wapol defeated Dalton, but Luffy prevented him from ruling Drum again. Imu successfully rooted Joyboy out, who then fled to Laughtale. The ancient kingdom likely shared its innovations with other countries. Those nations became dependent on this tech transfer, turning them into de facto vassals. Imu went to the kings of those lesser nations and forced them to choose between him and Joyboy. 19 swore him their loyalty. Joyboy would have forgiven them had he won. Betting against Imu is a lot more dangerous. Some kings might also have agreed with Imu's warnings about the dangers of science. If not dangerous to the world, at least dangerous to their positions in it. Stopping progress meant taking away the comparative advantage of the ancient kingdom, which promised to improve the relative positions of the subordinate kingdoms. The equality of the founding families of the world government is a prominent part of the founding myth. That is why the throne is supposedly empty. 20 kings, including Imu, and their armies made their way back to the ancient kingdom. Wapol came back to Drum with 20 physicians. The 20 kings won and formed the world government. They selected new royal families and moved to marry Joa. Some kings must have chosen to ally with Joyboy instead. They also lost their crowns. Instead of ascending, they descended, became not just commoners but criminals. Imu's forces deposed and pursued them. They had to hide and conceal their full names. Those who allied with Imu went up, those who allied with Joyboy went down. Consequently, the only family that stayed where they were before that conflict had a foot in each camp. Only the Nefertari dynasty kept their kingdom. Even though part of the victorious coalition, they didn't move to the Holy Land. They secretly supported Joyboy. Lily likely was a lot like Vivi. Perhaps she had to ally with Imu because her country would have been destroyed otherwise. 8-year-old Vivi was slapped by Wapol at the reverie. To avoid a war, she didn't complain. Perhaps Imu intimidated Lily in a similar manner at a gathering of kings. Imu would have sent his forces to destroy Alabasta if she had not joined him. Nefertari di Vivi already behaved like a queen as a small child. Other Ds, even though they don't know that they descend from kings, are drawn to ruling as well. Luffy, like Roger, wants to be king of the pirates. Blackbeard, like Rocks, wants to be king of the world, but first king of Pirate Island. Dragon, as leader of the revolutionary army, behaves like a king too. Conqueror's Haki is said to occur only in 1 out of a million people. Among these, it is a lot more common. All known members of the Monkey D family have it. Luffy, Garp and Dragon. Same is true for the Gold D family. Ace and Roger each could use it. Zabek pushed Roger to his limits, so he probably had it too. Teach will push Luffy to his limits, so he might need it as well. Adding Rocks D and Marshall D families, already half of the known D families would carry Conqueror's Haki. The first Ds were more than loyal supporters of Joyboy. Mere followers are not conquerors. They were kings themselves. When Luffy stands in front of Imu, he won't turn the other cheek. He will throw the secret king out of his castle, just as he sent Wapol flying. This will free the world from an 800 years long winter, during which progress was frozen. A metaphorical spring will come, the time of the year where cherry blossoms bloom. Just how when Wapol was gone, Drum became Sakura Kingdom.